Hi, I'm Brandon, and I have a special guest today. I have Ben Metcalf from 3 Minute Horror Reviews. So thanks for coming on the show, Ben.
You're welcome. And remember, I watch the bad movies so that you don't have to. You're welcome.
We're not talking about any bad movies today, though. Wow, maybe not entirely true.
At least one of them is bad.
we, uh, oh, we, I sense an argument coming because I'm a staunch defender of some of the ones that everyone else hates. But we decided we're going to do a deep dive into the Nightmare on Elm Street series. So we're going to, I'm not exactly sure what format we have. We're just going to start talking about each one, and we'll debate whether or not they're good or what our thoughts are. And by all means, leave a comment and let us know what your thoughts are because this is a hot topic. I've seen some heated discussions over which ones are good and that kind of thing. So I'd be just interested to know what everyone thinks.
I brought notes.
But I'm going straight memory. I've seen them so many times, like I could probably recite them back to
Yeah.
back with like 70% accuracy. All right, so let's launch into it. So the original, 1984. I'm assuming if you're a horror fan, you have to like that movie. It's just impossible not to.
I cannot believe that John Saxon was my age right now when they filmed that movie because he looked like an ancient old man.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, that always trips me out when I watch some movie with the old man in the movie and then find out he's 4 years younger than me. It's like,
Yeah, exactly. This was
um,
Johnny Depp's first movie role as well, his first on-screen role.
yeah, it's funny
Yeah.
too, like it's Johnny Depp. His first movie was doing the kind of what wasn't really cheap, but it was doing
Yeah.
a slasher type movie. Kevin Bacon, his first movie was the first Friday the
Yeah.
13th. So
Absolutely.
it's almost like they got their opportunity in horror, launched their career, and then after that, almost like they're too good for it, at least for a long
Yeah.
time, and they went into better stuff where it's like,
Well,
hey,
yeah.
you know where you got your start.
The only horror that they did after that was horror with auteur directors like Tim Burton and John Waters, right?
Yeah, yeah. But it is good to look back. Like Johnny Depp is obviously the most famous guy to come out of that movie. When
Yeah.
John Sachs, other people like they appeared and stuff, but most of
Mhm.
them, Heather Langenkamp, are most known for that movie. Johnny Depp,
Yeah.
it's like a Easter egg that hey, do you know he was in that movie? Everyone else, it's like the guy that plays the boyfriend in Nightmare on Elm Street. Like that's what they're known for.
Did you know that Heather Langenkamp and her husband now do special effects for horror movies?
I do
That's
because
what they
I
do.
watched
Yeah.
um, Freddy's or what's it called? New Nightmare.
New
Um,
Nightmare. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if that was her husband in real life, but I just read
No, it wasn't.
out that yeah, in the movie her husband does special effects and then so
Yeah.
I read that. But yeah, that's interesting. So what are your thoughts on it? Like how does it stand up after all these years?
Well, I'll tell you, when I reviewed this one initially for Letterboxd a few years ago, when I started doing my movie reviews, I was kind of an edgelord, right? Because everybody, when they start off doing movie reviews, like I'm so cool. I'm doing these movie reviews. I'm a cool guy. I talked about how I loved the Nightmare on Elm Street series when I was a kid, when I was young, but I don't really care for it now. And then I go on to review the Nightmare on Elm Street movies and give them all between 7 and 9. It's ridiculous. So, kind of shot myself in the foot. I really think that number one stands up, particularly. Number, we'll get into it as we go, but all of them with the practical effects that they use are unbelievable and way ahead of their time, especially number one, considering it was like 1984.
Yeah, they had limited it seems like a big budget movie, but I'm sure they had to struggle with what they had to make it work. And also just it wasn't necessarily a money constraint, it was a technological constraint where even if you had unlimited money, it's still impossible to do some things or very hard.
Yeah.
So they still had to work within their means. And if you really wanted to, you could pick it apart. Like you could tell that
Yeah.
the one Freddy, when it switches to the other guy, that the one guy's too short. When his arms are super long in that alley, it looks a bit cheesy.
Yeah.
But I don't care. I would rather have it
Yeah.
look a little bit cheap and cheesy than have it look perfect but be like CGI where it's just
Yeah.
not as effective. It's like they had to work with what they have, and it was the main thing that makes that movie great is just it's pure imagination. Like you could
Hmm.
like a lot of those slasher movies up to that point were a man in a mask using a bladed weapon to kill people.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, they can still be good, but now it's like now he has magical powers and he can do all sorts
Yeah.
of crazy stuff. And it's like,
He's
yeah,
in a
your
dreamscape.
imagination's
He can do
unlimited.
anything.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I started watching the Cinema Sins
Mhm.
review of Nightmare on Elm Street, and he was picking apart stuff that happened in the dream. He'd be like, "Why is there so much water on the floor?" And I'm like, "Because it's a friggin' nightmare." It's not, I couldn't even watch it. It's like if you can't even suspend your disbelief enough
Yeah,
to believe him, it's like, well, there's no point in watching the movie. Um,
absolutely.
but it's like,
And
yeah,
there's
go ahead.
So I was going to say, and so, there's some really meme-worthy moments too, like some really memorable things that still come up, like the tongue coming out of the telephone business where she's talking on the phone and he does his little thing with his tongue. Um, there's another thing as well. Um, Wes Craven really loves that bathtub scene. So that bathtub scene where he's got the glove coming up like a shark, where Nancy is in the tub and she's fallen asleep, and then the hooked claw comes up almost like a shark's fin. That's a recreation of a scene that he did in a movie called, I gotta look it up here. It's called Deadly Blessing that he did a few years previous. It was actually 1981, and but it was a snake. He had a snake coming through the bathtub where someone was asleep. The young female protagonist was asleep in the tub and he had a snake coming up through the bubbles like that. So he
Oh,
really liked that scene. Yeah.
I wonder if he just he did that scene, and it could have been that he just loved it so much he wanted to recreate it, or it could be like he was just maybe he wasn't as accomplished, he wasn't as good as a director yet, so he learned a
Yeah.
lot. It's like I kind of blew my shot with that. I want to do it again, but do it better. Because yeah, that is a memorable scene. There's a lot of scenes, like even
Yeah.
Johnny Depp being sucked into the bed. There's things that it's like wow, or the Tina being dragged around the roof and
Yeah.
the walls, and it's like that hasn't really been done anywhere else. And if it has, it's usually copying this movie. So for the time,
Absolutely.
it's like, wow, that's very, I don't think people had seen that before.
Yeah. And I don't want to blow our spot here or anything like that, but there's the Movies That Made Us episode about this movie where they talk about how they accomplished the blood geyser where Johnny Depp's death occurred. And it's really interesting to listen to. It's really interesting to hear how they did that.
Then they basically just had the room upside down and dumped a bunch of blood. Is that how they did it?
They did, and they actually flooded the soundstage at one point in time, and they had a lot of trouble. And yeah, it's really interesting to hear what happened as a result of that and how they got to it. It almost didn't happen. We almost didn't see it.
Oh man. It's like, all right, Wes, grab a mop and start cleaning because you destroyed the studio.
Absolutely. And I gotta say also, that iconic music stinger by Charles Bernstein, that do 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 do
Yeah.
do do, that is something that will live in my memory forever. That's ubiquitous to the series right now. It's incredible.
Yeah, I'd put that like the Halloween tune, that's pretty
Yeah.
popular. The Friday the 13th, the ha ha, or ma ma
Yeah.
ma. Like those are some of those are like sound effects versus like actual melody. But those are definitely like top three, top five at the worst. Like they're the most popular like horror little jingles.
Mhm.
Anyone hears that, they either know exactly where it's from if they've seen the movie or they're creeped out by it because it perfectly fits the vibe of the movie.
Absolutely. And that stinger that's right at the end, like the ending stinger, just when you think that everything's okay. And that arm that just pulls Nancy's mother right back in through the entry window. Incredible. Incredible.
I,
Now, in this day and age, that would have been a post-credit scene, but
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And in all honesty, if I could cut something, I would get rid of that.
Would you?
It looks pretty ridiculous. It looks like they're pulling a mannequin through.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of amusing.
Because they
I'm
were.
the fact that it's amusing, but it does all of a sudden bring up like, hey, because all the kids are alive again. Did this really happen, or is this a dream? And obviously, at that point, they didn't know if the movie was going to be successful. It could have been
Right.
this is the only one ever made. But I think after they made a bunch, they probably look back and they're like, it's kind of a dumb ending. I That's the one part of the movie I just like, I wish they didn't have that. But
Yeah.
but it's like a small criticism of an otherwise great movie.
It was cool at the time, and they kind of did a nod to it at the end of the 2010 version, but we can talk about that when we get to
Yes.
it.
Um, so yeah, let's move on to part two.
Yeah,
Part two. This is a one I think all fans of the series like number one is not my favorite, but closer
yeah,
to it. Number two, I think, is more polarizing just because it's so
right.
damn weird. And it's surprising that someone saw the first movie and they're like, I have an idea for a part two. And then they went
Hmm.
in this direction. It's like, okay, it's original, but what the hell were you thinking? What are your thoughts on it?
My so number two is probably my favorite in the book. Well, no, not quite. So number two is a 9 out of 10 for me, though. I love number two. Number two was the first number. It had no Wes Craven involvement at all. The only constant in this series through the whole thing has been Robert Shea, the head of the producer from New Line Cinema, older brother of Lin Shaye from the Insidious movies.
Oh,
Um, yeah, he's been the only constant throughout the whole series. He's been the producer on every one. He plays a cameo role in most of the movies too, and like he'll be a ticket taker or he'll be an attendant somewhere. So he likes to put himself in there too. He's in there as himself in New Nightmare, but we can talk about that when we get to it. But this one was the first one that didn't have Wes Craven as the writer or director. It went in a different direction. And I'll let you get into what that direction is and why it's polarizing.
it's strange, partly because yeah, it goes in a different direction,
Yeah,
but then part three kind of goes back to the original direction
right,
and continues from there. So what you end up with is one movie that's way different than the rest, and different
right.
mythology. And in its essence, the story makes sense. Is that like 5 years after the events of the first movie, like a young teen boy and his family move into the house where Nancy lived in the first movie, and the boy is starting to be haunted by Freddy. And there is the whole like the gay theme to it. That when I
Right.
first saw it, probably the first three times I saw it, it never occurred to me. I was so young, I didn't
Mhm.
notice. But as I grew older and everyone started pointing it out, it's like, yeah, it's heavily implied that he's uh, gay in a time where that wasn't as acceptable, and
Right.
he's got issues about that or whatever, and Freddy's haunting him. But this one goes weird in that basically Freddy is possessing him to kill people. In the first movie, Freddy
Right.
was its own thing. In this one, Freddy possesses this kid to go out and kill people, and eventually Freddy rips out of his body, and then Freddy's like loose in the real world, hacking away at teenagers in a backyard, which
Right.
was super cool. It's just it doesn't fit in because after that they're kind of like, yeah, forget
Right.
about that, just pretend it didn't happen, and we go on to going back to what it was like in the first movie. But there is some very creepy things in it.
Yeah.
And there's weird things like how the bird, the family has like a parakeet
Hmm.
that goes crazy and starts attacking the family, and then it bursts into flames. There's some stuff, and then at the end they go back to Freddy's hideout, his like warehouse, and then there's like dogs with human faces. Like there's just all sorts
Yeah.
of weird things, and I don't even think that that was like the real world. I don't even think that was like a dream. It
No, it was the real world.
it
Yeah.
just got it's like okay, they're kind of messing with their own mythology here. So it's hard to place that movie for me because
Yeah.
comparing it to the rest of the movies, I don't find it as good. But if
Yeah.
you take it on its own, it's actually really good.
Right.
It's just the weird one out. So yeah, wait, what do you think?
So I'm also a guy that likes Halloween 3 best out of the Halloween series, right? And that's the odd one out of that series.
Yeah.
I really like this one. This one, the kills, yes, they're much different than any of the other movies because they're less imaginative, they're less fantastical because they're not taking place in the dream world, taking place in the real world. So it's real slashing and cutting and stabbing are most of the kills in this one. And it's also got the highest body count of any of them so far, with the exception of Freddy versus Jason. But it's got the highest kill count because of that crazy barbecue scene at the end where Freddy has burst out of Jesse and he's just murdering everyone.
Yeah.
And he's boiled the pool and he's making the barbecue go crazy and all that other supernatural shit's happening too. But
Yeah, and like usually Freddy, for the most part, he picks people off one at a time. You
yeah,
fall asleep and you're isolated, and that's kind of like the slasher trope is like lure people one or two people away at a time and then knock them off. Here, all of a sudden, he's at a pool party with like 30 people and he's just going crazy. And I
yeah,
remember when I first saw it, I was like 16 or something, watching it with a friend, and we're kind of like watching it silently, and I'm like, I wonder if Joel likes this because this is kind of messed up. And yeah, we're just watching it. It's like okay, and as soon as you get to that pool part,
yeah.
it's like whoa, yeah, this whole movie, regardless of what you think, it's worth it just to see Freddy just going nuts and people running from him, and then a big portal of fire opens and he walks through it and disappears, and it's like was not expecting that. That was pretty intense.
So Mark Patton, the guy that played Jesse, his Hollywood career ended after this movie. And it's because he was an openly gay actor at a time when it was not okay to be openly gay in Hollywood. And this movie, the homoerotic undertones, the studio, when the movie came out, denied. They said deny, 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 deny. There's nothing, there's no homoerotic undertones to this movie. Now it's come out since, in the years since, Mark Patton and the others have said yes, they're definitely they were intentional. It was definitely an intentional, like a sub story. It was an understory to this movie. Mark Patton, though, has started to come back and is acting in some things now. He's got some health issues because he did contract HIV at one point in time, so he's living with that. But he is acting in horror movies again. He's also considered the first Scream King in horror history, honestly.
Yeah, there's a documentary, I think it's called Scream Queen, like Scream, comma Queen. I think that's what it's
Okay.
called, pretty sure. Where
Yeah.
they talk about his story. And yeah, basically he was like humiliated after the movie. He felt
Yeah.
ostracized by Hollywood. So he moved to Mexico and basically
Yeah.
disappeared from humanity for decades. And he was just living like basically without internet, off grid, just minding his own business. And until he kind of came back to the real world and then realized like he's kind of a celebrity. Like all these people
Yeah.
love this movie, and he's like, "Oh, times have changed, and it's not." He didn't feel so embarrassed about the whole thing, and so he started popping up in yeah, at conventions and stuff, and everyone was
Yeah.
all loving him. Like, "Oh, hey, you're the guy from Nightmare on Elm Street too." And so he made that documentary where he finally went back and confronted the writers and the directors of that
Yeah.
movie because they'd been 30 years or whatever since they'd made it, and there was a lot of bad blood that he had, so they kind of went and
Mhm.
worked their shit out, and yeah, now he's starting to pop up again in horror movies and stuff. So it's kind of nice that he had there's at least a good ending to that story.
Yeah. And there was a bubblegum rap song that came out alongside this song as well, or alongside this movie as well. A Nightmare on My Street by DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince.
Yes, yes, I have that song on my iTunes, and I listen to it on a somewhat regular basis. I used to listen to it all the time. I thought it's a pretty cool song, but it
Yeah,
is
I had the tape.
um, it is based on this movie, not the
Yeah,
first one, though. I didn't
right.
realize that when I was younger. But after I knew the movies more, and then I'm like, oh, the references in there are Nightmare on Elm Street
Yeah.
too. Like you've got the
You've
body,
got the
the
body and
brain.
I've got the brain. We said it at the same time. That's crazy.
Yeah,
I, as I said before, I love this one. I think it could have worked without the nightmare branding as well as like a Jekyll and Hyde story.
yeah.
But probably 10 years future, not 1982 or whenever it was, and maybe 1992.
See, the way I justify it in my own mind of
Yeah.
why it's so different is that Freddy, after the first movie, and he was kind of temporarily defeated, he decided his new plan was to
Yeah.
possess someone so he could get into the real world again. But he kind of got defeated again, so he gave up on that idea and just never tried it again. And then he went back to his usual methods. That's
Yeah.
kind of how I make sense of the fact that, like, well, why wouldn't he just try to possess someone again? Why wouldn't he keep doing that?
Well,
He just
I don't know.
changed his plans. That's how I justify it in my own mind.
They layer lore on top of lore on top of lore throughout this series and add so many crazy things that by the end of it, none of it makes sense.
Yeah, there's especially in the later ones, it's like, okay, wait a minute here. Like they're breaking not only breaking rules from previous movies,
Yeah.
but some of them like break their own rules from the same movie.
Yeah.
And it's like, so are they dreaming? Are they not dreaming? Like, what exactly could Freddy do? It's like he's all
We
powerful,
got
but so limited. And
we got Dream Masters, we got Dream Guardians, we got Dream Demons, we got Dream People, we got Dream Warriors, we got everything.
okay, so on to part
Yes.
three. What are your thoughts on
Yes.
that one?
Part three is probably my favorite. It may be due to nostalgia, but it is the first one that I saw in the series. Because when kids rent movies from the movie store, they don't necessarily care about starting at the beginning because kids are dumb. So it's the first one I've ever seen, and I rented it, took it to a sleepover party. I was the only one that liked it. I was the only one that watched it and didn't run away and go upstairs because my friends are kind of, like that. But yeah, it's fantastic. I think that this is probably the strongest one, and I have some interesting backstory about this one after I hear your thoughts.
It's funny how I think we're some of a similar age because that's
Yeah.
exactly the same thing happened with me. I watched that was the first one I saw. I saw it at a sleepover.
Yeah.
The only difference is I wouldn't say traumatized by it, but it was I think like the second horror movie I ever saw, so it disturbed me. I at that point like I didn't really didn't get into horror until I was like in high school.
Mhm.
I just it wasn't something I really cared about. So it did kind of disturb me a little bit, but I did like it, even though it like freaked me out. I was like, this is cool. Like I do
Yeah.
like this, even though it did traumatize me. And I think it was because like when the first one came out, I was a toddler. Like there's no way you're
Yeah.
gonna show a 3-year-old Nightmare on Elm Street. Like I wouldn't have been able to even pay attention. But by the time the third one came out and made it to video stores, because back then sometimes it took like 2 years to hit video stores.
Yeah.
By the time it was there, I was like, okay, now I'm old enough. So that was the first one, and it never occurred to me to watch the others first. It was like, hey, Steve's got this video, and we're at a sleepover, so we watched it, and it's great. It's my favorite too.
Yeah.
Um, it, it's it's so well done, and I hate the fact that there's so many people out there that not only look down on the horror genre, but there's like the elevated horror people where they're like, unless it's like Hereditary or whatever they consider like the upper echelons of horror. They look down on these kind of movies, and it's like, no, man, Nightmare on Elm Street is well done. It's a friggin' awesome movie, whether you like horror or not. Everything about it is just great.
Absolutely. Now, Wes Craven came back to write and direct this one because, no, he wrote this one. He didn't direct this one. He wrote it. But he was directing Deadly Friend. So there was timing constraints with when it came to directing. But he wrote this one because he was cheesed off by number two. He didn't like number two. So the other thing is, the interesting thing that I didn't realize before I started doing research for this meeting is that John Saxon and Robert Englund also made their own scripts for this movie. They also made their own screenplays. They also wrote their own stories. Robert Englund's was about one of the friend of Nancy who got dragged up and around and onto the ceiling and gutted. Her sister coming back from college to investigate what happened to her sister, going into the house, finding the dream world, and then navigating booby traps left by Freddy Krueger. That actually went on to become an episode of Freddy's Nightmares, the Canadian television series later. John Saxon's treaty for Nightmare on Elm Street 3 was that Freddy Krueger was innocent. He was railroaded, and it was Charles Manson's family that actually did the child murders. Yes, absolutely. It's nuts.
Yeah.
But now Freddy Krueger wants revenge on the Elm Street adults by killing their children because he was an innocent man. So those are things that I never heard before. John Saxon's story kind of almost got taken off in the recent one, but not in the end. So
They definitely took elements of that.
yeah,
Um, I think they're decent pitches. And I actually
yeah,
read or I started reading online. I found Wes Craven's original screenplay for it. I started reading it, and the overall like the kids in the mental hospital like that was there, but everything else was so different. And he was trying to
yeah,
be very edgy. It was very crude. And while obviously Freddy's evil and kills people and stuff, but
yeah.
they had him like using like I don't want to swear too much on YouTube here, but using the C word, like very, very
Oh,
crude language. And I was like, I'm glad they didn't do that because I don't want to hear Freddy talk like that. Like Freddy has to be likable in a very weird way.
yeah,
I feel for people to watch the movies, and if they went down that path where he's just very crude, and then I think it would lose something. So they I don't know who other people rewrote it or something, and they basically changed his script into what we saw. And
yeah.
not to knock Wes Craven, but I think some massive improvements were made because of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. The very first kill that they get on there, it hooks you. It's very visually impressive. Where it's the where Freddy's using the what's his name? I got it here.
Philip,
Philip, where he's using Philip's veins as marionette puppet strings.
yeah,
That hooked me. The instant that I watched that, it's the first Nightmare on Elm Street movie I saw. The instant I saw that, I was like, these movies are for me.
yeah, that might even be my favorite
Yeah,
kill in the entire series. Like, yeah, that was the first one, and I remember
yeah.
when I was a kid, I was so scared. I was like, "Is he dead?" And then my friends were like, "Of course he's dead. What are you stupid?" But yeah, like it was like whoa, and I think that's where they realized like we have this character and this world we created where
Yeah.
the killer can literally do anything. So why
Hmm.
would we stick to stabbing people with knives? Like, let's
Yeah.
do whatever crazy thing we want. Like, Freddy can turn himself into a puppet. He can turn himself into a comic book. He can
Yeah.
do whatever he wants. So they really went cool with this one, and they gave the Dream Warriors, each of these kids in the mental
Yeah.
hospital, they kind of all have their special abilities. Like the one guy
Yeah.
was like a Harry Potter kind of magical character, that
Yeah.
kind of thing. There was like the punk chick. Like they each had their own characteristics.
Yeah, and that's another cool thing too, because everybody loves superhero teams, right?
Yeah.
And these guys were a superhero team. You had Kincaid with the strength; he could punch through anything. You had Kristen, who taught them all how to lucid dream, who was a very young Patricia Arquette. And then yeah, Taryn was the badass biker, former recovering heroin addict. And then you had the wheelchair guy who was the Dungeons and Dragons wizard. Yeah, absolutely. All very cool. And then there was Joey too, and I think Joey was just horny and that was his power.
Yeah. Yeah, he's horny and he didn't speak. And he spent most of the time tied up being tortured, but
Yeah,
uh,
almost got killed by the boobies.
almost. Yeah, the weird thing is like in the especially in the remake, they tried to make it more quote real life, where it seems like most friend groups kind of look
Yeah,
like each other. Whereas the
yeah,
Dream Warriors, it's like they're almost like they're movie characters. It doesn't look like I don't think they would hang out if they weren't locked up in the same building together.
right.
But in the newer ones, or in the remake, they're like, let's make them look more like real teenagers would look. And I think that works against it because I don't watch a movie, especially one like this, to see real life. I like it
Yeah,
better when it's like, yeah, it is almost like they're the Avengers of this movie. And you just
yeah,
different characters, like you remember them all. Like if you try to remember the characters from the remake, like
yeah.
other than the main girl Nancy, I can't even picture their faces. They all just look the same.
I
Whereas
can remember
I
it
can
because I've
remember
watched it this
Kincaid.
afternoon, but
I can remember every single one of those characters. Everyone knows what Joey looks like. Yeah,
yeah.
they just all have like their own characteristics, and it's so much more fun to watch.
I can remember the guys from three so much that when I see them pop up on Facebook, because some of them pop up on Facebook sometimes because we're in horror guy groups, you
Yeah,
and I. Like the guy who played Kincaid pops up, and I'm like, "Oh, that's Kincaid.
yeah,
That's the actor that played Kincaid," commenting on this Tubi horror movie thread.
yeah. He's like way older now, but it's like that. Yeah, you
Yeah,
can't forget him. Whereas if I could be having a conversation with someone from the new movie, and it's like unless he told me, I wouldn't know who they are. They're forgettable.
yeah. I don't know. Some of those actors I recognize from lots of things. Some of them are pretty active, so the remake.
Oh yeah, well maybe I just hated it so much I blocked it out of my mind or something. But
Yeah.
let's stick number three though for now. It had other cool
Okay.
things too, even if
Yeah.
they are kind of weird within the mythology, like with the skeleton Freddy. It didn't quite make
Skeleton
sense,
Freddy. Yeah.
but it was still
Worm
super cool.
Freddy.
What's
Worm
that?
Freddy was awesome.
Oh yeah, like um the penis Freddy that they had to repaint because it just looked like a
Yeah.
giant dick. So they had to change the color so it looked more like the snake or worm or whatever it's supposed to be. But yeah, pretty much everything in that movie was good. And it was kind of Freddy was wisecracking at this point.
Yeah.
Wasn't to
Yeah.
the point of like comedy where it was lighthearted. This movie was like if you're the kind of person that's scared by horror movies, you'd be
Mhm.
scared by this one because
Yeah.
it's like the that burned pig, that like growls or whatever. Just like all
Yeah.
the imagery is like this is kind of freaky. In the later ones, they got to the point where it wasn't so scary, but this one
Right.
it had some, that girl's desiccated body and stuff. Like when she's running with a little girl, it's like there's things
Yeah.
that's like that's kind of creepy.
Yeah. This is also the one where the son of a hundred maniacs, Mathos, came out. So that's where they started talking about his backstory, about how his mother was a nun who was assaulted. I don't know what we're allowed to say on YouTube. Assaulted by 100 maniacs when she was locked in her the asylum that she worked in over the Christmas break. So yeah, which has become a major part of his story afterwards.
Yeah, and I've seen like some reviews where people they hate that aspect of it. They hate the whole nun thing, and I can see their point. Like the story would
Yeah.
work if you got rid of all that story, but it doesn't bother me that much because
No.
as a guy who hates origin stories for the most part, I hate it when they go back to explain where Darth Vader came from. I don't like
Yeah.
that. But in this one, they didn't go into it that much. It was part of the story, but still 90% of the movie was Freddy modern day doing his thing. They didn't
Right.
cut back and have like a 20-minute scene of him growing up or something. In Freddy's Dead, they did a little bit of flashbacks.
Yeah.
It didn't affect the story that much, so I could live with it. And it is a good origin because after the first movie, they're probably like we know, yeah, he was a child killer that got released whenever they burned him. But it's like, where did he come from? Like, why was he like that? And it is a pretty inventive and original origin story, I think.
Yeah, definitely. There was also an early appearance by Lawrence Fishburne in this that I
Oh,
completely
yeah,
forgot he was in it
Larry
until I rewatched it.
Fishburne.
Yeah.
Yeah, he goes by Larry Fishburne in this one.
Yeah. This was the first appearance of Hypnosil, which pops up in all of the rest of the movies, pretty much, not all of them, but most of them. The drug that suppresses your dreams, which was prescribed to them by the world's youngest teenage psychiatrist, Nancy Thompson from the
Yeah,
first
that
movie.
was the big surprise, which is kind of
Yeah,
funny. It was the first one I saw, so I wasn't like, "Yay, Nancy," because I'd
yeah,
never seen her
exactly.
before. To me, this was her first appearance. But looking back, if you'd grown up with them and watched starting with the first one, yeah, you got to see Nancy come back. And spoiler alert, but she dies at the end of this one.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Spoiler,
even though
spoiler
she
for a
dies,
40-year-old movie.
even though she dies, though, it's not her last appearance in the series. She does come
Yeah,
back in different forms. So, yeah. So yeah, part three is so awesome. I
yeah,
can't. It's almost like every time I watch it, I just like it a little bit more. I'm reminded. I just noticed some other minor detail that I either
yeah.
didn't notice or I forgot about. And it's like, yeah, that is just such a well done movie. It's just, yeah, everything about it is so cool.
It's where they built on a lot of the lore. They put the fundamentals of the lore in number three. The whole concept of the souls of his kills make him stronger, and with the all the heads in his chest sort of thing. That first popped up in three. A lot of this stuff first pops up in three.
Yeah, I think like the first one, it kind of started with like basically the kids and the adults, they're at odds, right? Because obviously the
Yeah,
parents are the ones that killed Freddy, but the kids, it's like the adults don't believe them. They have to rely on each other. In the third one, they take that to a new level where the parents basically they either think the kids are crazy or they don't want what they did getting out, so they lock them all up.
yeah,
So kids are now like we have to only rely on ourselves. And you can even tell like that part when it's bedtime and it's like lights out. They close the door as soon as the lights are out. It's like, okay, you watch the window. I'm sleeping first. Wake me up if I start acting weird.
yeah,
Like they already have this system. Like, how do we stay alive? It's like let's take turns sleeping. If I look like I'm
mhm,
struggling, wake me up, and then we'll
yeah,
sleep in shifts. Um, so it just shows like they started building like what would this world be like if this isn't like four kids getting killed. This has been going on like the entire town's kids are getting killed. It'd be like, how do
yeah,
you deal with this? Like, and of course, the kills don't look like murders. They all look like accidents or suicides.
yep,
So the parents are like, they wouldn't be like, well, there's probably some sort of mythical demon man haunting them in their dreams. In real life, no one would think that. They would think like something's wrong with these kids. Like, let's
yeah,
get some psychiatric help. And of course, like the nurse Ratchet wannabe at the hospital, the super bitch. I think she
yeah,
means well, but she's just like refusing to believe any of this. So of
yeah,
course, Nancy, who met Freddy before in the first movie, she went to psychiatry school or whatever it was, and now got a job helping the kids. So instantly, she's like, "I can help you," and the kids are like, "Yeah, yeah, we've heard this before." And then she's like, yeah, it's a man with a gloved hand and a hat. And they're like, whoa, like someone, finally an adult believes us. So she ends up helping them defeat Freddy and she gets stabbed in the process. But
It begs the question, though, why did he give up going after her? If he's been stalking these kids the whole time, why do you say, yeah, okay, we'll give up for now with her and we'll,
they really, there's a lot of those kind of questions in
yeah,
the series that I see it as that like she kind of defeated him. So there was
mhm,
like a psychic break. Like he can't just pick any kid anywhere in the world. He
yeah,
kind of needs them to come to him. There to be some sort of link. So she moved away to some other town and just like she's forgotten, right? It's like she got
yeah,
away. He has other things to deal with. All of a sudden, she's back and she's
mhm.
talking to these kids. All of a sudden, she's back in their world. And then Kristen brought her into the dream, and also, and it's like, hey, you came back, so now you're ripe for murder.
Absolutely. Yeah. There was something else I was going to say about that one. One thing that I've noticed about this series, though, is and we'll see it more as we go forward, is they like to elevate a character to hero status, be the hero that defeats Freddy, and then have that hero die in the next movie. And it happens over and over and over again.
Yeah, so that is a thing where it seems like characters that survive one movie die in the next. And in a way, I kind of like that because there's some movies, Indiana Jones, James Bond, he's never going to die. So it kind of takes away some of the suspense. Where in this one, it's like all the Dream Warriors that survived the first movie are the
Yeah,
first to get killed, including the main character for part three. In part four, they're wiped out. So it's like, holy shit, now anyone can die.
absolutely. So number four, The Dream Master, was directed by Rennie Harlin.
Yeah.
Now, Rennie Harlin is either famous or infamous, depending on who you talk to. Formerly married to Gina Davis, he did he's done some really good movies, and he's done some really huge flops. But I think most recently he's doing the pre-story movie of the Strangers series.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Strangers Part One, Two, and Three. Yeah.
Yeah, I know he's getting a lot of flack for those. Um, but this was his second movie. He did one like very low budget movie before this, and he basically begged his way into getting the gig to when he was super young. I think he was like
Hmm.
24 or something, of directing Nightmare on Elm Street 4. And it came out and it was the most popular one yet. It made so much
Yeah.
money that it launched his career. I think his next movie was Die Hard 2. So he got like a huge budget movie and he's been doing big budget movies ever since. And yeah,
Yeah.
he's he's done some shit movies, but he's done some good stuff. But this one is one of the ones that's kind of polarizing. I've seen some people that hate this one, but I
Yeah.
like it. It does go from part three being kind of dark and serious, where
Yeah.
this one's like way lighter in tone. This one's like barely a horror movie.
Yeah.
It gets funnier, but it's very imaginative and it's fun. So I do really like it. What do you think?
I think, yeah, it's definitely the next two are very cartoonish. So he becomes a cartoon villain, and that's absolutely okay with me. They were really able to use their creativity for some of these kills. We get some of the most creative, spectacular kills in the entire series in these next two movies. And they, like you said, they will be polarizing. Some people say that's too silly, but I think that it's just right. I think that there's plenty of there are plenty of Friday the 13th clones out there or Halloween clones out there where somebody's just going and shoving a machete through somebody. But how many other movies are there when somebody gets turned into a Cronenbergian body horror cockroach and then squashed? I think that's the next one.
Yeah.
That's not this one. I jumped the gun there. That's the
No,
next
that is
movie.
this one.
Is it this one? Yeah,
It's
it is
part
this one.
four. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's four. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's creative because when that kill starts, you don't think it's going to go that way. Like it starts off for the people who haven't seen it. I'm going to spoil it for you. This one particular kill. Um, this one particular character is she's a bodybuilder. Like she's big on physical fitness. And so she's down there, she's on her bench, she's lifting her weights and all that sort of thing. And Freddy comes around and he does a little thing, where he's, goofing around and I think he calls her bitch. But actually this isn't the movie where he starts punctuating all of his sentences with bitch. That's I think the next one. This you can see it coming. But um, so he comes around, he does his thing, and then he breaks both of her forearms. Okay, and so you think, okay, he's just gonna make the barbell killer or something like that. She's not gonna be able to lift the weight, and it's gonna smoosh her. But no, he turns her into a cockroach, and then she's in a roach motel, and then he squishes her, and it's really, really cool.
Yeah, it's imaginative, and they did kind of allude to that earlier. That she's like, ew, I hate bugs, and she like stomps
Yeah,
on a bug. But it's like, yeah, you assume like, oh, she talks about being a bodybuilder. She's always lifting weights. She is lifting weights at the time Freddy comes for her. It's gonna something to do with the weights or the exercise machine, something. But it just goes in a different direction. No, she turns into a roach. It's like, yeah, that's very creative. Even Joey's kill,
yeah,
where he's like gets sucked into his water bed, and then his mom comes in the morning, pulls the covers back, and he's like inside the water bed.
yeah,
That's another one. It doesn't quite make sense because it's like, well, if he's in the dream, how did he
yeah. How do
physically
you get in
get inside it?
there?
But I kind of justify it that Freddy like he controls a dream world, but
Yeah,
sometimes there's a bit of a bleed over. to the real world where things kind of happen for real. So basically, you just have to not think about it very much because it doesn't make sense, but it's still super cool.
Because we never learned what Joey's Dream Warrior power was, right? What if he was like the Flash and he could vibrate his molecules through things? And that's how he ended up in the waterbed and that's how he died.
It still doesn't quite make sense though, because that would be his power in the dream world, not
Right, right.
so it's always there's always
No,
that like you could kind of debate. You basically just have to not think about it much because it'll
right.
drive you crazy. Because it'd be like every 2 minutes, you'd be like, wait a minute, they just showed this, now this is happening, and it's like, don't think about it too much. It'll ruin your enjoyment of the movie.
But one thing that we can definitely, there was a fire truck out there that just honked.
Oh,
One thing that we definitely do know for sure, though, is that the boobies did kill him this time.
yeah,
His
yeah,
horniness killed him.
yeah. Yeah, it did. Yeah, he was looking at he had a poster of like a woman in a bikini on his wall, and then he fell asleep, looked back up at it, and she was gone from the poster. And then all of a sudden his bed starts like rippling, and he looks down, and she's like inside of his bed. And then all of a sudden it turns into Freddy, and he pops up,
Yeah,
drags him in, stabs him, bed fills with blood. And then his mom comes in, and there's no blood or anything, but he's
yeah.
inside of the waterbed, drowned.
But we also
Very
get the
cool.
iconic line, the "How's that for a wet dream?"
Yeah, this is where Freddy's just full on making one-liners, and there's a hot a debate over whether or not some people like that, some don't. I don't mind it. Even
I
in the
can't
first
believe they
one, he was
reused
kind of
that line.
cracking when,
Sorry,
when
go
they.
ahead. They reused that line in the 2010 reboot, in the realistic one. They
Oh,
reused that line, the wet dream line.
yeah, I don't remember that, but
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's definitely much better.
Rooney Mara's character, playing Nancy, playing not Nancy Thompson, but Nancy, another Nancy, is walking through a really like a hallway that's been filled with slop that it's hard to get through, and he says, "How's that for a wet dream?" or something like that.
Oh,
He reused it. Yeah,
yeah. But yeah, this one it even had. I remember when I was a little kid and I watched the first or part three with some friends at a sleepover.
yeah.
We were talking about it, and one guy who had seen part four,
Uh-huh.
which was like I guess the newest one that came out, he's like, "Yeah, in the new one, it's like a dog pisses fire, and that's what revives Freddy." And it's
He
like,
does. It's
yeah,
crazy.
I don't know how they thought of that or how that makes sense, but it's still pretty cool. I love how Freddy comes back in this one because in part three, he
Yeah,
doesn't really come back. He's just there all of a sudden. In
yeah,
this one, he starts off dead. This is like a continuation of part three. His
yeah.
skeleton is buried. It's like in pieces. So the dog pisses fire on the grave. Also, the grave opens up and his body basically reassembles itself.
Right.
And he comes out, picks up his hat, and then stabs Kincaid.
Absolutely. But right before they do that, the way that they zoom out in stages to show you this junkyard that Kincaid's in and how it becomes like a Hellraiser-esque Leviathan area maze of junked out cars and Kincaid stuck in the clearing in the middle of it with Freddy is really visually impressive.
Yeah, it's like it's he's like, look, yeah, he's stuck in this junkyard. So like
Yeah.
the camera moves straight up and it's like, this is a huge junkyard. And then it moves back further. It's like this is like the size of a country. And then it like
Yeah.
pulls out and it's like, no, this is the entire planet is a junkyard. And of course this is in Freddy's dream world. And so yeah, the movie starts with Kincaid from part three gets killed, Joey from part three gets killed, and
Yeah.
then Kristen, who was the main character in part three, she gets killed.
Yeah.
And so Freddy is basically like, hey, I'm running out of Elm Street kids. So right before he kills Kristen, he's like, bring me fresh meat. So she brings in a bunch of her new friends,
Yeah.
or the new characters we meet. So all of a sudden there's all these other new characters, one of them being Alice, who is the protagonist in the next two movies. And she survives. She doesn't die.
Yeah.
She basically defeats Freddy in this one and the next one. But yeah, this it's a good movie. Like, how do you think it
Yeah.
compares to the others?
Um, well, definitely, I think that it's got a lighter tone. And then this is when they really started going crazy with the lore because Alice is the Dream Master. And so Alice's power is that she can take everyone else's powers and have everyone's powers at the same time. She's Peter Petrelli from Heroes. Okay. She has everyone's powers all at the same time and she can use them. Some of the kills were silly. Some of the kills were really creative, like we talked about. Her brother's death is goofy. Her brother is a white ninja. Her brother is a one of those guys who watched too many Ninja Turtles episodes and got some nunchucks, and he was, he used to put on the karate headband and turn on some jock rock and start flipping his nunchucks all around. And he decides he's going to karate fight Freddy, and you know how that goes. That.
Yeah, and if you
Um,
want to watch the um, Never Sleep Again, the documentary on the
yeah,
series, they explain because basically in that scene, there's no Freddy. Freddy's invisible.
yeah,
All you see is his glove, and they said that they basically ran out of money to film anything.
yeah,
So I think they couldn't even pay Robert Englund to come that day. So they're like, "How about Freddy's just invisible?" Even though that makes no sense and it's stupid, but they're like, "Hey, what else are we gonna do?" When I didn't even notice. I was like, "Hey, he's
mm,
invisible. He can do what he wants." So you basically have this karate guy fighting an invisible Freddy, and then a glove just floats across the room and stabs him. And then even the filmmakers, like they're like, "We hate that. It was so cheap." Even the set, like they just had to dress the set so cheaply.
yeah,
But if you just watch it, you wouldn't, you just figure, hey, that's what they
yeah.
chose. You don't
I
know
had no
anything
idea.
wrong with it.
But I'll bet you they spent all of that money on the ending scene where Freddy is torn apart by the souls of his victims, because holy shit, that looked incredible.
Yeah, yeah, he's uh got little arms ripping out of his body and pulling him apart, and it's yeah, like they yeah, it's just imagination, and it's pretty much all practical because it had to be back then. There wasn't any CGI, so
Yeah.
yeah, they probably spent a ton on that.
Did you know that Linnea Quigley was one of those people
Yes.
that was stuck in him? Yeah.
I forgot, but now that he mentioned me, I was like, yeah, that
Yeah.
was in the documentary. Where would you place four? Kind of like probably not as good as number three, but or do you think it's the worst one yet?
No, I tell you, my ranking so far as we go through right now is number three at the top, number two and number two spot, number one, and then number four. So it's the worst so far, but it's not the worst overall. I promise you that much.
And even it gets worse, but
Yeah.
yeah, even saying that if it's the worst one, it's still really, really, really good.
Yeah. Like I
Um,
still gave it an 8 out of 10 on Letterboxd. I mean,
yeah,
honestly. Yeah.
yeah, like sometimes I hate like I do ranking videos on my channel, and sometimes it's
Mhm.
hard because it's like, oh, I rank something last, but a lot of the times it's like it's still a really good movie. Don't get that wrong.
Yeah.
This is one of those cases where yeah, number four is kind of one of the weaker ones, but it's still like still one of my favorites.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so let's go on to part five. This is one I think they just rushed into it because part four
Yeah.
made so much money they wanted to capitalize on it, and I think they said that basically from the part four coming out to part five coming out was a year. So it's
Yeah.
basically like, okay, you got to come up with an idea, write the story, film the movie, edit it, and get it in theaters within 1 year. And they never quite figured out the story. They were like filming the movie while they were trying to rewrite the story, and you could tell because it's so confusing and doesn't make sense. But that being said, it's one of the worst ones, but it's still
Yeah.
good. It's still fun to watch. It's got some imaginative kills, but it's just trying to follow the story. It's just like it's so confusing.
The story makes no sense. It's all over the place. I do love how it kind of ties into the next one, and we'll get into that when we get into the next one because there is a tie-in, even though the next one is completely spoilers, the next one sucks. But this one, this is the series entry where Freddy Krueger starts punctuating all of his sentences with "bitch" because that's what he's famous for at this point in time. Like, how about a ham sandwich, bitch? Like that sort of thing. Anything he says. Um, Alice is back. Alice has got more powers. Alice is pregnant in this one, and her baby is being used as a proxy by Freddy Krueger to collect more power in the baby, and the baby is going to give that power to Freddy somehow, or
Yeah, I've seen the movie like 20 times. I still don't even begin to get it. It's like,
yeah,
oh, he's reaching out to Nancy and her friends through the baby, or through not now,
yeah,
Nancy and Alice through her
yeah,
baby. It's like, yeah, but he reached out to her through her friends, like in the last movie.
yeah,
Why does he need the baby? Why is the baby involved at all?
yeah,
And later there's like this kid, this like 8-year-old kid who's supposed to be like the future version of her baby or something.
yeah,
And then he's like half turning into Freddy but it's like
Yeah.
it's her grown kid. I don't get any of it. Like why would
Yeah.
Freddy need a baby to kill? He's been doing it for four movies now.
Yeah. And
So
it's
I don't
not his baby. It's the baby of that other guy from the
yeah,
last
it's
movie.
not his. And it's like, okay, like it used to be like he would invade your dreams to kill
Yeah.
you. Now he's invading the baby's dreams to kill
Other
Alice's
people.
friends. And it's like, okay, I don't. They try to explain it, and they might even give different explanations. And it just,
Yeah.
I heard, I think they say in the documentary that they basically they came up with the title and the movie poster before the script. So they're like, they wanted something to do with a baby, and it's called The Dream Child. So make that movie. So then the writers are like, how do you do? And it's like, quick, quick, quick. We got to start shooting in like 3 weeks. So
The
they're
producers are like Owen Wilson and Ben Stiller in that Starsky and Hutch movie. They're just going, do it, do it.
yeah, yeah.
I don't care, do it.
So it's like, all right. So they came up with something, and if you ignore all those parts and just watch it for the kills, which a lot of people do,
Yeah,
it's got some cool ones. It's got the comic book fan who's like in a
yeah,
comic book world, and then Freddy slashes him into because these guys made of paper, so he
yeah.
slashes them up. And it's got really imaginative things like that.
The motorcycle one is very cool. The one
Yeah,
where he turns Alice's baby daddy into a man motorcycle hybrid sort of thing, almost out of like Tetsuo or something like that. Like a machine man hybrid. Really cool.
yeah. He just fuses with it. And apparently, like
Yeah.
the director was mad because the movie was heavily censored. And if you watch, you can probably find them on YouTube, but there's the
Mhm.
uncut versions where you see like just like pieces of the bike like going into his skin and rippling up, and all that was like cut out. So what you see
Ah.
is only a small piece of it. So the filmmakers like I even have fans like you can't even watch unless you watch the uncut, like it's
Mhm.
not worth watching. But I don't know if there is a full movie or if it only exists as like just like cut scenes you can watch on YouTube or something. But it is disappointing that
Yeah.
Saw, which was cool, it would have been so much cooler if it wasn't like heavily censored.
I wonder if they edited the feast kill as well, because the feast kill was very gruesome.
It was gruesome, and it was just edited weird. Like when you watch it, it
Yeah.
just seems like you could just tell they were messing around with it somehow. Um, yeah, it could have just been better. But yeah, it was the young woman who was like a model or a wannabe model, and her mom was always pressuring her to lose weight, and she's got to watch what
Yeah.
she eats. So Freddie just starts stuffing her face with food until she's like ballooning up and choking, and
Yeah.
it was very gruesome.
And it's eating her own guts too. It's really super
Oh
gross.
yeah, he was like ripping and feeding her own guts, and
Yeah.
yeah,
I've only ever seen that in one movie before, and it was one of the American guinea pig ones, and it was pretty gnarly.
I imagine. Yeah, yeah, it had great kills, but it suffers from the same problem as like the next movie where there's only three kills in the movie.
Yeah.
It's like you need more. And I do in a way I like that there were other characters in it that didn't die because then it
Yeah.
keeps it suspenseful because sometimes people don't die, so you don't know. In most of the slasher movies, it's every character except the main one dies. Or in this
Yeah.
one, it's like maybe they will, maybe they won't. But at the same time, we kind of got cheated because in the whole movie, it's like there's three kills and then it just ends, and then there's more like dream world stuff, but it's all about the baby slash 8 year old, whatever the hell is going on with that. And then it's just, yeah, dealing with other stuff that they could have squeezed a couple more kills in there.
That guy that played the 8-year-old Jacob, though, he was in all sorts of stuff at that point in time. He's kind of an odd-looking kid.
Is
He's
he
still working now.
is he the same kid from Jurassic Park at the beginning? You know, the kid that's like, oh, that the raptors don't look scary. And then Alan Grant's like, imagine this. You're why, and they come up and they hit you from the side. Is that the same kid?
He might be, but I don't want to do IMDb while we're in the middle of this. So.
Yeah. I'll check that
He
out
was in all
after.
sorts of stuff, though. Whit
Um,
Hertford, he's still working now. He goes by Whit Flint now,
oh, okay.
but he's still doing, and he does a lot of horror stuff because he's still like a unique looking guy, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, he did a good job and everything. It wasn't his fault that that character
No.
made no sense. And then
Yeah.
the kid like turns on Freddy, who's like his dad. I wonder
Yeah.
because it's like the whole time it's like this baby is a conduit for Freddy. And
Yeah.
then I think they're like, okay, but how do we have a baby fight Freddy? How about we just make him that he's like 8 so he can like talk and stuff? Okay, let's do that. And it's like, so what? And is this like a dream? So this is like her baby grown up and he's 8 years old, but it's in a dream. And then he somehow turns into Freddy, but then he turns against Freddy to kill him. By
It
that
doesn't
point,
make
it's
sense.
it's just like, okay, just like don't think about it, just watch it.
Yeah. And at
And
this point in time, Alice also sacrifices herself. Again, spoilers for a 30-year-old movie. She sacrifices herself, so she does not move on to the next one.
she doesn't die though.
Doesn't she?
I'm pretty sure she survives.
I don't
Yeah,
know. She's not number six.
she's not in
I
number
thought she
six.
had to sacrifice herself to trap Freddy and let her son have a normal life.
I don't think so. Pretty sure it ends. I can't remember the last scene. Yeah, but no, the last scene, it's like her and the baby or something. They're like in a park
Weird.
or whatever. So it's like it does have a
Oh,
happy ending and she survives.
maybe it's got two different cuts. I'm not sure.
That's
It's weird
possible. Yeah,
because
because
she's not back in the next one.
not bad. I think they just finished with her story and moved on. But overall, what are your thoughts on part five?
Part five was confusing. The kills were visually impressive for what little kills they were. It's probably the most forgettable of them until we get into the next one, which is basically a Looney Tunes cartoon. But still, I really feel like this is where they start going down off the cliff. This is the if number four was the peak of the roller coaster, five is when they're starting going down the descent.
Yeah, it's overall, I still say it's good. If I had to give it like
Yeah.
thumbs up or thumbs down, I would still
Mhm.
give thumbs up because it's worth watching. There's still cool stuff. It's fun to watch, but it's
Yeah.
definitely the least good one so far.
I think I gave this one a seven when I watched it. It was still
Yeah.
good, but it was, you know,
Yeah, that seems about. I might even give it like
yeah,
less than that, like
yeah.
6.5, but it's still pretty good. But yeah, it's it's not good. However, let's get into the next one, and I have a feeling
Oh
we
boy.
we might have some debates over this one.
We
Uh,
might, we might. So it starts off with a Goo Goo Dolls ass sounding band, even though this is probably 10 years before the Goo Goo Dolls became popular. But it's got some really edgy music that it starts off with. Second thing is I can't believe that I was only in eighth grade when this movie came out. Like it feels like it's a lot more recent than that. That's pretty crazy. The music was by Brian May from Queen, so he did the soundtrack for this one.
oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Wes Craven had nothing to do with this one again, so this is another one without him along the way. And now we're 10 years in the future, and all of the kids, with the exception of one, have been killed off in the town of Springwood, which is where we've been based up to this point. So we've been based in Springwood. And another spoiler for a movie that came out when I was in eighth grade, and I'm now 48 years old. Um, this is the child. This is the dream child. This last remaining child in Springwood who's trying to escape Springwood, cracks his head, gains amnesia, doesn't know who he is. This is Jacob from number five.
Or is
Confirmed.
it?
Yeah.
It's actually not, but
I read it on Reddit, so it must be true. No.
that's
I
what
don't
you're
know.
led to believe.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, yeah. So okay, continue.
Okay. So I'll continue. Okay, all right. So there's one remaining kid in Elm Street. He's on the loose. He's trying to escape. He goes through an enormous dream sequence that lasts a really long time that incorporates bits from Looney Tunes cartoons and The Wizard of Oz and all sorts of things. At one point in time, Freddy Krueger goes flying by on a broomstick like the Wicked Witch of the West and calls him a bitch, I believe. But so for whatever reason. It seems like Freddy's trying to stop him from getting away from Springwood, but then Freddy forces him out of Springwood, which is very strange because this whole time I thought he was trying to get away. He kept saying, "I'm almost got out. I almost got out." And then Freddy's like, "Yeah, get out. I'm gonna make you get out." And he like tears through the town, the barrier between Springwood and the rest of the world, like a cartoon because he leaves a like a silhouette like they do in cartoons when they go through the third wall or the fourth wall. And yeah, off he goes into the real world. But he cracks his head and doesn't know who he is.
Yeah, it's I'll say it. I like this movie. I really like it. I understand all the criticisms. I've heard them all before, and it's like, yeah, they're all right. Like, it's like absolutely correct. Those are valid criticisms. But I find the movie is just so freaking fun to watch. Like everything about it is
Yeah.
just so ridiculous and awesome that it's like it's so goofy that you just like it's just like it has like a charm to it, right? And part five was actually kind of serious. Like it dealt with like abortion and other serious topics.
Right. Yeah.
This one, it's like forget it, pure Looney Tunes and Freddy kills and it makes no sense. Yeah, it's like he's like, oh, I'm trying to get away, and then Freddy's like, go, bring me more. It's like,
Yeah.
but what? So you're trying to? Is he trying to get? I don't get it. Like you explained it right. It just
Why were
doesn't.
you stopping him if you want him to go? Like, what the heck?
But it's like if you just forget that, like it's got so
Yeah.
many fun things in it, and every time I watch it, I always have this fear I'm finally gonna be like, you know what? I see what everyone says. This is terrible, but every
Yeah.
time I watch it, I'm like, nah, it's still just so fun. I just like everything about it, but it's like I totally understand. It's like I could see why you would hate it for those exact same reasons because it's just
But
stupid.
at the same time, it's not like it's a movie that not like a regular type of movie that I hate in the respect that, I'd give this a 3 or anything like that. I
Mm.
would still give this a 6 or 7. It's still
Yeah,
a really good movie. Like
yeah,
the Breckenmeyer's in it, young Breckenmeyer, guy who plays John Arbuckle in all the modern Garfield movies. Um, I have a love-hate with him anyway over the years, but either way, he's a very young character in this, and Freddy. There's a lot of really cringy memes that he does with his Nintendo kill because Breckenmeyer gets killed in a video game, and there's lots of talk of now you're playing with power and all that kind of business.
yeah,
Nintendo ads from the '80s. It's pretty cringy, but it's also pretty funny.
yeah, and um, yeah. I don't know. I don't know if that is true or if that's just like an internet theory that he's Jacob. Maybe that's true. But the movie leads you to believe that he's Freddy's kid. He believes he's Freddy's kid
Yeah,
for like probably half the movie or even
yeah,
more until Freddy reveals like, no, wrong, and then kills him. And then you
yeah.
find out that it's like, oh no, it's the woman who's like the um therapist or whatever at this home for troubled kids. She's Freddy's kid.
And funnily enough, that psychiatrist that is Freddy's daughter is played by Billy Zane's sister.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I definitely looked because yeah, they had that same name. So as soon as I saw that name, I was like, hey, they gotta be related. Yeah, that's his sister.
Yeah. And we also have a Yaphet Kotto from Alien appearance. He plays a really cool psychiatrist in this movie that does dream business with these guys. He teaches them lucid dreaming.
And he might be the only like adult who believes the kids right off the bat. Most of them refuse to, they either refuse to believe altogether or they refuse to believe like Nancy's dad until it's too late and then they get killed. This guy
Yeah.
flat out is like, yeah, I believe you. And this movie it has appearances by Alice Cooper, which is cool to see. And in
Yep.
this one, you get to see a little bit more about Freddy's past, about how exactly
Right.
he got these powers, which I think I would have been happy if they'd never explained it, but they did, and whatever. Basically, he was killed, and then some dream demons who look like little skulls
Yeah.
with tails on them, they came to
They
him
look
and
like flying sperms with skulls for heads.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And then they're on fire or something, and they
Yeah.
basically like, hey, we'll give you these powers, and they're like, okay, so they get sucked into him, and all of a sudden he has these powers to kill people in their dreams, and it's like,
Yeah.
whatever, it's good enough, I guess. Um, and this one, much like kind of like the first movie ends, where they go into the dream world and drag Freddy to the real world and then they fight him and they end up sticking like a pipe bomb in his mouth or in his chest or
Yeah.
something and blow him up. And his last word is kids, and then he explodes.
Yeah. And it
And
looked pretty cool. I mean,
it did.
I,
It
I
was,
mean,
it was a
yeah.
3D movie. Uh,
Yeah.
there's even a part. Apparently, if you watch the documentary, there was confusion in the theater, like where people didn't know when to put the 3D glasses on because
Right.
people would like. It was only the end of the movie that was in 3D, so people would put
Yeah.
them on and they're like, "Hey, this movie's not 3D," so they take them off. So there's some confusion, but there's a part in the movie where
Yeah.
Yaphet Moto's like, "Here, put these on," and hands the woman the 3D glasses to put on, and it's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, come on!" Like, it's so cheap, but Yeah,
That's
look,
when they travel into Freddy's brain for everyone. They travel into his brain, and they use a lot of those tricks that they used in movies when in early 3D, where it was you know that you're supposed to be watching a 3D part because everything is flying right in your face like this.
yeah. And of
All the
course
dream
now,
people were there, you know?
years later, and it's not in 3D, it's not as impressive looking. Um, but the movie, it has cool stuff. Like the kills, like that video game kill is kind of cool,
Yeah,
but it
yeah,
makes no sense. Like, okay, so Freddy in the dream world is
yeah,
controlling this guy, and you see him like in a crappy looking Nintendo video game jumping
yeah,
around. But he's also jumping around in real life. Like
yeah,
his friends are freaking out. He's banging his head on the wall and everything. But then all of a sudden, this like portal to hell opens up in the floor, like in real
yeah.
life, and he falls down it. And it's like, but that's not in the dream. That's in real life. Like that they just
There's
they
a lot of there's a in this one there's a lot of dream crossing into real life stuff that doesn't make sense. Like when they get stuck in the loop going through the
yeah.
town,
It's like
that
yeah,
doesn't
when
make any
they're in a dream,
sense.
they're yeah.
There's also a crazy cameo by Tom and Roseanne Arnold at that point in time because they were married
Oh
at that point in time and they were very high on cocaine. And you can tell what they were going nuts. But you know, it looked like they were having a lot of fun. So
yeah, there's so many things like this in this movie that are like
yeah,
it makes no sense. And they even yeah, like they break their own rules because that scene you described earlier with
yeah,
Freddy's driving the bus and then he hits the main guy and
yeah,
knocks him out of the dream world into the real world. So that's like, oh, there's some sort of border there. But then when they're driving around, it's like, but they're
yeah.
not dreaming. So is the whole town just become the dream world? Like
Yeah. How
they
are they
just break
stuck?
they break their own rules. But the thing is, even if they are in the dream world, they still go into that house and fall asleep in order
Yeah,
to. So it's like, but if they're already in the dream world, why would they need to fall asleep? Like it just,
exactly.
it's so they just break their own rules. And I know it gets criticized a lot for that, but if you just
Yeah.
ignore that, it's the whole Freddy puts the guy that has hard of hearing, he like cranes his hearing
Oh, yeah.
aid up and then like scratches a chalkboard until the guy's head explodes. It does have some really cool kills like that, but again, there's
Yeah.
only three kills in the entire movie if you don't count
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
like if you don't count Freddy dying or him
Yeah.
strangling his wife, but like actual real Freddy
Mhm.
kills, yeah, there's just the hearing one, the video game one,
Yeah.
the main guy falling on the parachute and he lands on the spikes. Like,
Right. The Looney Tunes death.
yeah, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. And I
Um,
watched it yesterday. So what are you gonna? Yeah, it's weird.
even one of the producers, if you watch the Never Sleep Again, the documentary, one of the producers is like, way too many people survived in that movie.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there was other characters. There was like that blonde girl. There was Yaphet Moto, like those guys that.
Doesn't
Uh,
the blonde girl die too? No.
no, she
Oh,
almost does because like
yeah.
Freddy's like her abusive dad, but then she beats the shit
Yeah.
out of him.
Right.
She's the one at the end that throws the pipe bomb to uh,
Yeah.
Billy Zane's sister to blow him up. So yeah, like there's I don't know, it's they could have just had more kills
Weird.
in there.
Yeah, and we got some sneak peeks of what I liked about the backstory of Freddy Krueger in this one when they found his under the house lair. They really took a nod from the Marvel comic books from the earlier in the 80s because they had him, you know, with a dungeon like that where he'd abuse children. Um, this is, I mean, it's all implied. I mean, there's t tools of torture everywhere and all that sort of thing. I don't understand the people, and we'll get into it when we get into the remake. There's some controversy over the remake because they focused on his proclivities, on his
Mhm.
activity with the younger set. But what did those people think that he was doing in the previous canon movies with those kids in that dungeon? I mean, he wasn't
That's
bringing them down there for cookies, you know?
that was the officially it's like he was a child murderer. So
Oh,
beyond
okay.
that, they never said what he did, but it was heavily implied that
Yeah.
he was a molester as well. But
Oh,
I think
right.
the filmmakers were like, obviously, even killing kids is horrible too. But
Yeah.
if you made him a molester, he would just be so hated that he wouldn't become the cultural icon that he did. So
Right.
like, but if you think about it, I think everyone kind of knows like
Yeah.
it's implied what he was doing with them. They just never said it. And in the remake, they kind of made that more of a point, is that like, yeah, he
Right.
was a molester. But as far as we know, they kind of danced around that subject, and it's kind of like, well, it's up to you to decide what he did.
Mhm.
But it's never. It's like he just killed them. Basically, is I think the official story.
I didn't look it up on IMDb, but was Robert Englund's wife, or was Freddy Krueger's wife, played by him in drag? Because I've seen him in drag before in the movie Danse Macabre, and she looked in that newspaper article that John Doe's carrying around. She looks exactly like his drag character in Danse Macabre.
I'm not sure. There was
Yeah.
the part where you see him like choking her.
Yeah, but you
Uh,
only see his back and her
oh, okay.
face.
Or like from the
So I'm
side or
not
something.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't look that up, but I will have to now. I mean,
Yeah.
it's possible. Um, but yeah, you get to see a bit of Flash. You get to see him kind of like as like a kid growing up, and he's like killing animals. And
Yeah.
his like stepdad, or I don't know if it's his real dad or stepdad, or someone who's Alice Cooper
Yeah, he
is.
took him in. He said he took I took you in.
Yeah, and then he's beating him with a belt and stuff. So you
Yeah.
kind of, I don't know if they're trying to like make you sympathize with him, but I think they're just let's sum up pretty quickly like where Freddy came from.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Exactly.
okay, it was good enough or whatever. And then Freddy basically, yeah, he dies.
One last thing about number six, the ending song, "Why Was I Born" by Iggy Pop. I love Iggy Pop. Iggy Pop is a fantastic artist. I've loved him for my entire life, but this song sucks. It is a suck song. It is so bad.
I can't even remember. I remember the Dawkins song from part three. Um, I don't remember this one. I'll have to go back and listen because I've
Yeah.
never been big into Iggy Pop, but I generally
Mhm.
like his stuff. But I cannot even remember this one. But if you're the expert on it, I'll have to
Oh boy.
agree with
He
you on
even dated like he you can't really market it outside of this movie either because he starts it off saying, "But Freddy's dead," like okay.
that. Although technically I've heard people say that like in my mind, Freddy versus Jason's in a different like universe than this.
Yeah,
So as far as things are concerned, Freddy did die for real because after
yeah,
this there was New Nightmare, which is the real world. There was
yeah,
the remake, which was a different universe, and
yeah.
there's Freddy versus Jason, which is up for debate, I think, but I consider it different. So in this storyline, it kind of ends with part six.
I would say so. I would say so, and they've never revisited it. Freddy versus Jason, I agree with you 100%. It's like a DC Elseworlds or a Marvel What If. Like, what
Yeah,
if
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Jason fought Freddy?
Yeah, that's how I consider it.
Yeah.
But before we get to that, we have to do New Nightmare.
Yeah.
That's the one in the real world, and it's where I got the idea to do I'm Haunted 5 because I wanted to bring Elizabeth's character,
Yeah.
Genesis Brady, back from the I'm Haunted series, but she'd been long possessed and all this stuff. So I was like, well, I can't make her the main character again. So, and then something hit me, and I was like, what if I do the New Nightmare thing?
Yeah.
Takes place in the real world and she's playing herself and then she's back to the main character and we even I even mentioned New Nightmare in that movie, so that's kind of where I got the idea, but it's a very inventive and creative way to do it.
Yeah. It's the first time it was ever done. um, where a meta movie like this, where the principal cast are playing themselves, but fictionalized versions of themselves. And that includes the director and the writer, so Wes Craven, and it includes the Robert Shea, the producer from New Line. I mean, they even go to visit him in his office. They're playing fictionalized versions of themselves, but it's the first time it was ever done. And there have been so many things that have come afterwards that have built on that, like I'm Haunted 5, or The Unbearable Weight of Great Massive Talent, that one with Nicolas Cage where he plays a
Yeah.
fictionalized Nick Cage. All of those movies wouldn't exist if New Nightmare hadn't come out.
Yeah, it's just a cool way to do it. And it was refreshing. Basically, the people that made Nightmare on Elm Street, the cast and the crew, they started getting haunted by Freddy Krueger, the character that they created. And it goes it kind of goes back to its roots. I hate it when horror series say that because it usually means the new ones suck. But this
Yeah,
one does not suck. But they go back to it being kind of more scary. Freddy doesn't wisecrack in this one. He's more threatening. And Nancy, like Heather Langenkamp, is playing herself, but she's back as the main character. And there's not the kills aren't as imaginative in this one, but
right.
overall there is a sense of imagination to it. Where basically you get to see Robert Englund is it's never we never quite see his point of view, but it's implied that he's being haunted by Freddy too, this kind of the
Yeah,
character that he played. And basically they're kind of saying that like Freddy became so famous that I can't remember how that they explained it, but basically he's so famous that some evil entity came into our world and
yeah.
took Freddy's form just because he's something that's in everyone's like collective subconscious.
Yeah, he's part of the cultural zeitgeist. So this demon chose Freddy as the vehicle, and I really love what they did with him. Like he looks really cool. I like the organic glove. So it was less of a glove that someone's wearing and more of just finger razors that are attached to a bony, organic, burned muscular hand. It almost looks like when the Marvel replaced Wolverine's adamantium with just his bone, and he had the
Yeah.
bone claws. It's kind of like that.
Yeah, Freddy looks cool in it, and
Mhm.
they have there's a scene near the beginning where they're filming the movie, and then the Freddy glove uh,
Yeah,
starts acting up on its own, and running around killing people. This is another movie. It only has 3 kills in it. I'm pretty sure. It's there's a couple that I think like the glove stabbed someone, and then
there's the first two guys. Yeah.
but then that's I think that turns out to be like a dream. So I
No,
don't.
I don't think so. It came out later that those two guys were killed. It was on a newscast.
They died, but they didn't die from what we saw because I think they
Oh,
that or Heather woke up and oh that was just a dream.
oh, okay.
And then I I watched it like a few months ago, but I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure it's in my mind is kind of a debate about it because it's like they didn't die from that scene because she woke up and oh everything's normal, but then later on turns out they did die, but it was because Freddy killed them off screen.
oh, okay.
I I could be wrong. Don't take my word.
Yeah,
But I think there's the husband that gets killed, like when he's
yep,
driving the truck. Then there's the call back to Tina's death in the first movie, in
yep.
the hospital room, and then what was the other one?
Doesn't John Saxon get killed by him too? I don't remember.
No, I don't think so.
I watched it yesterday and I already don't remember.
Pretty sure he does. Um, or maybe I am including one of the guys that gets killed. I can't remember, but it's another one where they have too few kills for my liking.
Yeah,
I just wish that they had done more. It's still a very good movie. There's a lot of kind of quote scary parts. But
yeah,
they definitely didn't go for the high kill count like a slasher movie. They tried to make this one more like highbrow, but and it was still
yeah.
effective. I still love it.
They did a callback not only to with the Tina death of the babysitter, but they also did a callback to the bathtub again. Except it wasn't in a bathtub. It was the husband's car seat, and the glove came up with the finger glove came up, and it looked. They made it look like it was water. The seat was made of water, and it came up and it went towards his nuts, and it gave him a
Yeah.
little tap, gave him a little tippy tap first, and then it came up into the whole thing.
Yeah.
But it was another nod to that bathtub scene again. There are a couple of scenes where they did a nod. They did the telephone tongue gag again at one point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they were trying to show that like basically Heather's being stalked by someone that sounds like Freddy. She's getting
yeah,
strange phone calls. She assumes that it's just some like obsessed fan or
yeah,
whatever. But things start escalating and again, it's something to do with her son. She has a young son and he's starting to be like tormented by Freddy. And he
yeah.
says that Freddy's coming to him like underneath his covers at night, like through his bed, and it turns out that this is real. So
Hmm.
Heather goes into their under the son's covers to go rescue him down into Freddy's weird. It's not really a dream world this time. I guess it's some
Yeah.
dream world, but it's some sort of fantastical world where it starts to be like Hansel and Gretel. They get into the leaving a trail behind and
A
shoving
trail
him
of
in the
sleeping
bricks.
pills that she's swallowing as she goes. Like, you took way too many of those.
But it also it gets into other kind of issues that they've dealt with before where so she goes to the hospital and the nurse there is like your kid is acting crazy and
Yeah.
then she's like basically implying that she's a bad mother and the nurse is like have you shown your kid your Nightmare on Elm Street movie and she's like no of course not but this kid just knows all about Freddy and he's acting weird and um, yeah, it's kind of like part two in that it's the odd one of the bunch, but it makes more sense because it's not canon to the rest of them.
Right.
It's its own thing, so it makes sense that the vibe and the look of it and the way Freddy acts is all very different.
And one of those nurses is a cameo by a young Lynn Shay before she did all the Insidious movies. So Robert Shay's sister,
Well, she was also
who
in the very first Nightmare on Elm Street. She played the teacher.
did she? Oh, I
Yeah,
didn't even notice that. Oh,
yeah,
geez.
she's like super, super young. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's crazy. And the kid, the Heather's son in this one, is the little kid from Pet Cemetery, and
Yes.
he gets to crack out his evil kid voice again because you know that evil kid voice that he did at the end of Pet Cemetery where he's possessed. He gets to do it again in this movie in spades. He gets to do it a lot. It's fun.
I remember when this came out, and my friends were like, "Oh man, that kid must be so traumatized having done this movie." And I was like, "Nah, I bet you he had a lot of fun. Like, you know how movies are
Oh
made.
yeah.
Like, he sees the people all around him acting normal, so I bet you he had a blast doing it."
Oh yeah. And his parents are going like this afterwards with the money.
Yeah, exactly.
That kid's doing conventions now.
Is
I
it?
saw him advertised at a
Oh, is it?
convention.
I can't remember if it was him or a different child actor I looked up, and other than the few, like they were famous for that brief period being a child actor, and then they never acted again. I can't remember if it was him or someone else like him, but um,
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if he's still
Gage something is
acting.
this kid's name. Yeah.
Yeah, some of them, their parents forced them into it. The
Yeah.
second they have a bit of autonomy, they're like, "I'm not doing this anymore. I hate it."
Hmm.
I don't know what this kid's story is, but he did a good job, and yeah, he got that creepy, and we got to see Heather Langenkamp again, and we
Yeah.
got to see like all the people from the first movie. We got to see Robert Englund out of makeup, and we got to see
Yeah.
John Saxon like playing himself, and then yeah, we got to see like Wes Craven and other people
Yeah.
in the movie. It was very cool.
And apparently, Robert Englund, like he is in this movie, is a painter in real life. But the painting that he does of Freddy in this movie was not by him. It was by a set designer.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I wonder if he
Yeah.
wanted to do it, and they're like, "Nah, just let us do it."
He does do paintings of Freddy, though, that he sells for charity or something like that.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
yeah, it was. I guess they could have given him a chance, but yeah, no such
Maybe
luck.
he didn't have time. Who knows? It was a really
I-
good painting.
So, how would you compare this to the other ones?
I think that it probably comes in at an 8 out of 10 for me, just because of the concept, because it was the first time it had been done, and it was really, it was really cool. When I went into watching this movie, I recall renting it after I worked or something like that. I used to work in a restaurant when I was a teenager, and it was next to a Blockbuster. And so I would go in and I'd rent a movie on my way home from work, and then I'd be up all night because, you know, how the way teenagers are. I rented this one and I didn't know what I was getting into. I didn't know what to expect. I thought it was just another Nightmare on Elm Street movie. And it ended up being really, I really liked that concept. I thought it was really cool. I still
Yeah,
think it's really cool. Yeah.
yeah, it definitely holds up, and especially after like there was a lot of backlash after Part Six, Freddy's Dead, and everyone hated it, and it was just so goofy and Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
Um, that I think people just like the fact that hey, they're taking this material seriously again, rather than just running off the rails with it. They're like, let's pretend Freddy's actually evil and scary again, and it is kind of a more serious movie. So yeah, overall, I think it's a very good installment.
Yeah. And I mean, the whole trick with where you're looking at a script of something that's actually happening right now has been done so well in so many movies since they did this for the first time. Like
Yeah,
there's episodes of Supernatural where they're reading what's happening as it's going on and all that sort of thing. It's really cool.
yeah,
And they called back to a lot of things from the first movie that Wes Craven also wrote that really were really effective. So they did the arm stretch with the scraping the claws again, and the telephone trick, and the up on the ceiling kill trick, and all that stuff. They almost did a reverse Johnny Depp kill in this one as well, because there's a point where, oh no, is that the next one? Never mind. That's the reboot. That's the remake.
yeah.
That's 2010's remake. Never
And
mind.
let's move on. We got one more before we get to the remake. Let's talk about Freddy versus Jason. It's
Yeah.
in my reviews of them or my like tier list. I
Mm.
did for both Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th because I guess it could be considered both. People I've seen debates over whether it's more of a Freddy movie or more of a Jason movie. I think like Jason Freddy only has one kill in it. I think Jason
Yeah.
has like 20. I don't know
Yeah.
why they made it so one-sided. But basically, Jason does way more stuff. Freddy doesn't, but I think the overall vibe, the story is way more of a Nightmare on Elm Street movie. It revolves around Freddy and the Weston Hills, like psychiatric place and the Hypnosil.
Yeah.
There's a lot more of like that type of Freddy stuff in it. But yeah, we'll start with you. What do you think of it?
Well, first of all, it's very Canadian. Filmed in Vancouver. Lots of Canadian stars in it. We got Catherine Isabel from Ginger Snaps. We got Brendan Fletcher, who's in, practically anything that's horror thing that's filmed in Vancouver. He's in Green Room. He's in a bunch of stuff. You'll know him if you look at him. Even Tyler Labine's little brother is in it. He plays the stoner in the group. So Tyler Labine from Tucker and Dale versus Evil. That's his brother is in it. And then we
Oh,
got some, yeah. And then we've got some other guys who are not Canadian. So we've got Jason Ritter is in it. I can't remember the name of the actress that plays the lead character off the top of my head because it. Yeah, so there's a lot of Canadian people in it. The premise of this one is that Freddy is in hell, and Freddy really, really wants to get back to killing Elm Street kids because those Elm Street kids, they're propagating out there. There's tons of them now, and they don't even remember who he is. Nobody remembers who Freddy Krueger is. And so he has no power over them at all. So he goes, I guess, searching through the annals of minds that are asleep out there in the world somewhere from his hidey hole in hell. And he finds Jason Voorhees. He's like, oh, there's a guy who can go and cause some chaos for me. And so he goes into Jason Voorhees' dream and he pretends he's Jason's mother. And she tells Jason that there's all sorts of bad kids on Elm Street that need punishing. So get up out of your grave and go kill them. And he does a altered beast. He does a rise from your grave business. He punches his way out of the ground, and he goes off to Elm Street. And this is my least favorite. This is one of my least favorite looks for Jason Voorhees. I don't like the way he looks in this movie. I don't like when you can see like he looks kind of puny in this one. He's a tall guy. They chose a tall actor to play him, but it's not Kane Hodder. It's not like the brick shithouse Jason Voorhees that can smash through everything, and he's got some wisps of hair coming off the side that make him look kind of weird. And yeah, not my favorite. What are your thoughts on this one?
yeah, I really like it. It is. I definitely I don't want to consider it part of the lore of either series. Like, yeah, this is a what if. This is a
Yeah,
separate thing. And it's a cool movie to watch. I like it.
yeah,
And I agree. Like the guy that played Jason, he did a good enough job. But yeah, he looks tall. He doesn't look as big. He just looks tall. And yeah, the
hmm
widths of hair, it's passable. But compared to Kane Hodder, they should have just went with Kane Hodder. That's tends to be most people's favorite looks. Freddy looked normal. It's just, yeah, my main criticism of the movie is Freddy, like, he kind of attacks a couple people, but he's like, oh, I'm not strong enough yet.
yeah,
Like, come on. And then he sets that one room on fire and kills like one
yeah.
guy.
With Brendan Fletcher, yeah,
But the rest of them, it's just all Jason. And then at the end, Freddy fights Jason and there's a lot of cool stuff, but it's like if you're a
yeah,
Freddy fan and it's like, oh man, we've been waiting like 20 years for this movie, and then he kills like one person in the whole movie. It's like, come on, like why
yeah.
give him more to do?
If you're a huge Freddy fan, the last 20 minutes are going to be a lot of fun for you, but the rest of it is just going to be like, why is Jason doing all the work?
Yeah, and I mean I like Friday the 13th. I like Jason movies too, so it's cool. Like it's got a lot of cool scenes in it. And the final
Yeah,
fight scene, you get to see them duke it out and they I kind of knew that they weren't going to pick a clear winner because
yeah,
it would piss off the fans of the other series.
yeah,
So it kind of ends with like Jason kind of wins, but it's also kind of like spoilers, but basically it ends with Jason walking out of the lake
yeah,
holding Freddy's severed head, but then Freddy winks, kind
yeah.
of
He gives a
like
wink, like a.
it's still fine. So it's kind of a draw. A bit Jason kind of wins. Overall, like it was, there's no way they could have really satisfied
No,
people because the movie had been in development hell. They've been trying to get it going for so long, basically since
yeah,
Freddy's dead, like 20 years earlier, or almost like 15 years or whatever it was. That there was no way it was going to be like as epic as everyone built it up to be, but it was like it's still a good movie.
Yeah, and you can only imagine the territorialism that must have been going on in the writing rooms for this with the different groups.
Yeah,
Because Sean S. Cunningham was a producer of this one, and it's released by New Line. So you got Robert Shea and Sean S. Cunningham, and neither one of those guys wants their guy to be the one that looks weaker, right?
yeah,
So they there must have been a lot of fighting between them. After this one came out, there was rumors that there was going to be a Freddy versus Jason versus Ash movie, which I guess was at one point in time something that was going to happen, but went immediately into development hell.
yeah. And they released it as like a graphic novel instead, or a comic
Yeah,
series or something, which it would have been cool, I guess. But it's like if
but really.
you can't do it right, I'd rather have it not exist than to have it come out and be shitty. So
And what is Ash going to do to those two guys? Because Ash is a guy. He's a guy with a chainsaw hand, but he's a guy.
yeah, and but I mean, like, both Freddy and Jason have been defeated by regular humans before.
Yeah.
So they would have to work that out, but it's like I don't want things to get too carried away with oh, now it's Pinhead versus Chucky
Yeah.
versus Jigsaw. And it's like, okay, come on, let's not get too carried away. Freddy versus Jason, like they were the two like original big famous guys, so like makes
Yeah,
sense to them.
it makes sense.
And it was good. It was like when it first came out, I was like, yeah, like it didn't quite satisfy me. But I was like, you just take it for what it is, and you watch it a few times. It's still a
Yeah.
pretty cool movie, and I think it kind of revived. I had like one or both series. Like I think it made like more money than any other Freddy movie,
Oh
or
yeah, I bet.
one of
Yeah.
those. Like it actually was very successful, and people
Yeah.
still talk about it. So it's definitely they did a good job.
Yeah.
It's still a cool movie. Just because it's not what you built it up to be in your own mind doesn't mean it's not good.
The
It's
dream
still pretty
sequences
cool.
that they did were very cool. Even though he wasn't deadly necessarily in them, the dream sequences were very cool.
Yeah, yeah. There's
Hmm.
a lot of cool parts, and Jason's kills were cool. Like there's a
Yeah.
lot of stuff to it. It's a bit different because for it's like we hadn't seen those characters in quite a while, like
Hmm.
years or more, and just filmmaking techniques and cameras and stuff. The
Yeah.
movie looks much more modern than we're used to, which is kind of a
Yeah.
criticism I give to a lot of movies. It's like it just looks too polished and modern. I miss it when it looked rough and rough around the edges like the earlier ones. So that is
That
kind of a
that
thing.
brings up my next point. This is the first Nightmare on Elm Street movie where I noticed some jank CGI in it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when like
There-
the stoner guy was high and there was that like caterpillar thing, like there's some
yeah.
parts that it's
And there
like,
were
okay.
I'm pretty sure when Kelly Rowlands was looking in the magazine too, and the whole nose thing
Yeah,
with the gloves, I'm pretty sure there was some jank CGI with that too.
yeah, that looks like grotesque Mildred losing her nose level. That they just had
Yeah.
millions of more dollars than we did.
And Kelly Rowlands calls Freddy the F slur, and I was shocked. I was scandalized.
And apparently that wasn't in the script. She just did that like on her own, and then they kept it in
Oh,
there. And
disappointed.
it's yeah, it's kind of like, ooh, yeah. I mean, technically, some guy murders all your friends. You could call him a slur, and then I think it'd be justified. However, it is just a movie and not real life. And like,
Yeah.
okay, you should probably not say that. And it's
Probably
funny
tone
because I
that
think
down.
it's been
It's not
mentioned.
1984, it's 2004.
Yeah, I think that was like at the tail end of where that would be in any way acceptable.
Yeah.
See, it does come up, but I've never heard of like people wanting the movie banned or edited. I think
No.
it's just kind of like, ooh, like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's probably a big mistake, but whatever. It's not a huge deal. It wasn't like people were calling for her to be canceled or anything.
No. And I'll
Uh,
tell you, I probably, if I hadn't watched it this afternoon, I probably wouldn't even have remembered
yeah, I just
it.
remember because every once in a while
Yeah.
someone just mentions that, and it's like, oh yeah, that's kind of weird. Um, so how do you figure this one fits in with the rest of them?
Like you, I believe it's a what if, like it's a what if story, an Elseworld story. It doesn't fit in with the rest of them, but it's like a fun side story.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's I think it kind of it's. I can't remember my exact ranking of it. On this channel, I have my video where I rank them, but it's somewhere in the middle, probably. It's like
Mhm.
I think it's better than some of them. Like it's better than five, uh,
Yeah.
but it's not definitely not better than three. But it's still definitely worth watching. Which
You
brings us
can't.
to
Yeah.
the remake.
The remake. The remake was, first of all, what do you think of the remake?
I hate it. I absolutely hate it.
Yeah. It was so dark. It wasn't
It
any fun at all.
yeah, and that's the thing is like I almost wish it was worse. Like it's
Hmm.
like it's kind of Penguin Zero or whatever that YouTuber guy, how he calls
Yeah.
it fun bad. It's like if you're gonna be
Yeah.
a bad movie, make sure it's entertainingly bad. If it's just dark and kind of slow and kind of it's not quite boring, but it's on the verge of
Hmm.
being boring. And it's like we're gonna try to go back to our roots. And it's like, but they somehow took that to mean suck all the fun out of the movies and then
Yeah.
release what's left. And it's like, man, it used to be Freddy was fun to watch, and now it's like, man, there's like this. It's
It's the 2010s grimdark version of Nightmare on Elm Street.
yeah,
Like when they were making everything grimdark.
and just there was no imagination in the kills. They like the most imaginative one was just the rehash of the original movie with the Tina girl flopping around the roof and everything. And
Yeah.
the rest was just finger stab, finger stab, finger stab,
Yeah.
slice. There was no marionette. Like they could have done anything. It's like now we have even better technology. We could do even more easily. We could do whatever
Yeah.
we want, and then they just do nothing. It's like if you're gonna be bad, just go all the way bad. Just go and have fun with it, and at least make people enjoy watching it. Now it's like it's a slog to sit through. It's just so dull.
The most imaginative thing that happened in it, I think, was in the very last 2 seconds of the movie when every spoilers for this movie, everybody. When everything is back to normal and Rooney Mara is back at home and Connie Britton is standing behind a mirror saying that, oh good, I'm glad that it's all over. And then all of a sudden appears in the mirror behind her and shoves his hand directly through her head. And I think that that is probably the most imaginative thing that happens in that movie.
Yeah,
TBH.
yeah, right. In the last 2 seconds of the movie,
Exactly.
they
They
did.
made him look like an actual burn victim, which isn't fun. That's not fun at
Yeah,
all.
it's
Yeah,
like I don't
yeah.
get why filmmakers sometimes they have this thing in their mind where we're going to try to make this more grounded and true to life.
Hmm.
It's like if you're watching a movie, especially like a horror movie or something like a superhero movie, I don't want it to be like real life. Real life is like real life. I have enough
Yeah.
of that. I want something cool. Like Freddy always looked cool. And they're like, that's not good enough. We're going to make him look more real. And it's like, but why? And the thing is, like, nothing against Jackie Earl Haley. Is that his name?
Yeah, Jackie Earl
Actor.
Haley.
Like, he's a really good actor. It's
Yeah.
just he's a small guy. Robert
Yeah.
Englund is
Oh, he's
tall.
tiny. Yeah.
He's just an imposing guy. Where now you
Hmm.
have someone that's short. Like he's the same height as like the women and like the girls in the movie.
Yeah.
And even like his glove, like the original Freddy glove, it looked big. Like it looked like a
Hmm.
menacing weapon. Now it's like the blades are like shorter. It just looks like a less menacing weapon on a smaller guy. And
Yeah.
it's well now all of a sudden you're not intimidating. Even if they got rid of the wisecracks, it's like Freddy's less intimidating. And they did you did allude to this earlier, which was something that they almost did, where it's like, oh, Freddy might be innocent. He was innocently accused
Yeah.
of this crime. And it's like, oh, okay, that's a different direction.
Yeah.
But then they just turn back on that and they're like, no, actually he did do it. He was lying. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, it's like, okay. And in this
Well,
one they basically made him a molester,
yeah.
rather than just a killer, which a lot of people had a problem with. But the movie, I guess the movie was just trying to be darker and more edgy. And I
Yeah.
just think it ended up being, I can't remember any other than the Tina like roof kill. And I remember the opening scene of the movie in that diner and the guy like cuts his own neck.
Yeah.
I
Kellen
remember
Lutz
that.
from X-Men.
Other than that, I don't remember a single kill. Like I don't remember much from the movie, and I've seen it probably 5 times. Like it's just so
Yeah.
forgettable. Like
How did
nothing
he
about
kill?
it is memorable.
I can't remember how he killed Thomas Decker. Oh, it was in the prison. He killed him in prison. It was claws. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like everything's. I can't even picture their
Yeah.
faces. Like the all the other characters from the other ones, like the comic book guy, the
Hmm.
bodybuilder girl,
Yeah.
Kinky, Joey. Like they're all like they all just had something unique about them. Now they look like real modern teenagers, which
Yeah.
for a movie is like okay, they just look like regular people. I can't even picture their faces now. Like the movie, I watch it like every once in a while because I'm like
Yeah.
I want to find something. I'm hoping one day I'll watch it and be like, you know what? Now that I think about it, actually it is good. And every time I just hate it a little bit more. Just like
They
like
they had such a chance to do something different, like you said with the innocent thing.
mhm.
If they had made him innocent and maybe made Clancy Brown's character be the molester,
Yeah,
and and then he drove the charge to kill this Krueger fellow to cover for his own actions because he was kind of creepy at the beginning with Heather, right?
yeah.
So it could have been that. Clancy Brown can play a good bad guy as well. So I mean, they had a chance to do so many more different things with that. I think that this movie would have been very, very effective if they had taken off the veneer of Nightmare on Elm Street and just made it a supernatural killer with Jackie Earle Haley as that guy.
Yeah, yeah.
You
Like
know, take the gloves off, take the Freddy Krueger business away, and have him just be a supernatural type killer, and be his character, be act the way he was, but not be Freddy Krueger.
it's just obviously for money reasons, having that name on
Yeah,
it's going to bring all those fans in and ultimately disappoint them. They even
yeah,
they the whole thing with the micro naps, where even if
yeah,
you kind of just doze off, even for like a second, Freddy can
yeah,
get in there, and it's like that's kind of cool. But like
yeah,
they just used it for an excuse for a whole bunch of like quick jump scares, just
yeah.
quick like oh Freddy's there, and then oh I wake up again, and it's
Jump scares and exposition for oh, he's drawing us over here. He wants us to go over here with these micronap messages.
yeah, just like it just
And first of all, why would you go if Freddy's trying to draw you somewhere? Go the opposite way, you know? Don't go there. That's stupid. I love
yeah.
Jackie Earle Haley. I think he got a raw deal on this one.
He did.
Um,
He tried his best. He's not the reason it
yeah.
sucks. And I
No,
bet
no.
even the script, like when they read it, it might have even seemed like this could be cool. But
Yeah.
it just the other one, like all the other movies, like there's something fun about watching them. Like there's just cool stuff in it. This one
Yeah.
it just looks like all the other horror movies that came out during that era. It just looks the
Yeah.
same. Like back during the time of Freddy and Jason, like the 80s,
Hmm.
you could tell the difference. Like they look different. Like even the movies, like Nightmare on Elm Street 1 to like
Yeah.
4 to Freddy's Dead, like they look different and they look different from the Halloween movies. Like they all have
Yeah.
different vibes. And then all of a sudden, it seems in more modern times, horror
Yeah.
movies, it's like this is how it looks. Every movie looks like this because we've reached like a pinnacle or something of like we can make things look really good. We have really, really good cameras, but it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
but every damn movie looks the same. And it's like put a different skin on it and call it something different, but it's the exact same movie.
I call it the Snyder versification of action and horror movies.
Yeah. And it's just I read Scream magazine. It's like a British
Mhm.
horror magazine. And every once in a while they'll do like a multiple issue deep dive into a movie series. And they'll just, whoever writes it will give their thoughts on it. And they did one on Nightmare on Elm Street and
Mhm.
do like two movies every issue. So basically, it was like better part of like a year of them going into detail about the movies. And the guy just absolutely eviscerated the remake, like even worse than we are now. Like he just absolutely hated it. And I was like, yeah, I can see that because it's like, man, we waited so long
Yeah.
to come out, and then they put out this piece of shit. And now it's been what, like 16 years since that came
Yeah.
out? And
2010. Yeah.
it's like, man, how could they ever top that? I just almost don't want them to try because they would probably be even worse. Like something's fundamentally going to have to change with the way movies are made.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's going to just be worse than the remake. And it's like I'd
They
rather
need to
miss
give
that
it to an
part.
indie studio, like an indie studio that has some money to do it, but
Yeah,
not one of these Paramount or Fox or any of these ones that are the homogenized Disney ones or anything
yeah,
like that.
and like no executive input. It's like you
Yeah.
basically if you've worn a suit in the last 10 years outside of a wedding,
Get
you don't get to have a say in
out.
it. It's like let the creative people, preferably someone who likes A Nightmare on Elm Street and just knows a
Yeah.
bit about it, and maybe it'll be good. But even
Like
like
what they did with Dave Filoni with Star Wars, right?
in what do you mean?
Dave Filoni, they put him in charge of Star Wars recently, and he's a fan, like he's a long-term fan of
Oh,
Star
okay.
Wars, and he's the guy who turned things around when he created The Mandalorian and all that sort of business with
Okay.
Jon Favreau. Yeah,
I've been so out of Star Wars
yeah,
from Star Wars. I don't know what the hell you're talking about, but okay, yeah.
yeah,
Maybe
uh,
try to save it and
yeah.
uh yeah.
One good thing I can say about the remake, one good thing that I noticed. Something that I liked is when Earl Haley's Freddy was just talking when he was doing some exposition or something like that. He had ticks that he'd do with his gloves. Like he'd click the two of them together over and over again, or he'd do this and make a like a clicking noise as he fiddles with his glove. And I really liked that. Robert Englund never did that. He'd, do the glove when he was trying to be menacing or that sort of thing, but never just when he was standing there to start playing with two of the claws or that sort of
Yeah,
thing. I thought
I
that was
never noticed
really
that.
cool.
But now
Yeah.
that you mention it, because I'm sure like you, like everyone at some point has worn the toy glove.
Yeah.
If you were wearing that, you couldn't help it. It's so cool to have on your hand. Like you would couldn't help but play around with it.
Exactly. And
I
when I
never
was a
noticed
kid, I
that.
had the Halloween glove and I had the hat and the mask and all that stuff.
Next time I watch, I'll pay attention to that. Like I think he's a good enough actor. Like he did the
Yeah,
best he could.
yeah,
It was not his fault, and I don't know whose fault it was, but I would have liked a worse movie that tried harder. I would like to just laugh at how stupid it is, but
yeah.
have enjoyed watching it instead of sitting there just like, is this almost over? It's like I've started watching it. I may as well finish it, but like I hate that feeling where it's just
Yeah,
like I love bad movies. Bad movies are fine. Just like
yeah,
love The Room. It's like it can be bad, but still fun to watch and provide you
yeah.
some entertainment. If you're just gonna like bore me to death, then like what's the point? Like I don't know who they made this for. Like I don't think anyone was like, you know what, the Nightmare on Elm Street movies are too fun. I don't want to enjoy it this much. I want this just to be dark and dry and kind of boring. I don't think
Kids
anyone
don't like
actually
fun
thinks that.
anymore.
It's like why would they do that? It's I don't know. And yeah, I don't know where it goes from here. I know there's talk of
Yeah,
like they're making or they made like a Jason TV show
yeah,
or whatever. Like he's still in the works, but Freddy, like I think this movie was just so bad that it just killed any desire for anyone to
yeah.
cough up the money to make it.
They're not even doing video games with him in them any longer. They're doing they've had that Friday the 13th one. I think there's the Friday the 13th one, which was a multiplayer game where one person would be Jason and then the rest of the people would be survivors. That went into some licensing hell for a while with the
Mhm.
guy who claims that he created Friday the 13th versus Sean S. Cunningham. Um, but I think that they got that worked out, and I think there's going to be a new version of that coming out. They've got a Texas Chainsaw Massacre game that's like that. They got a Hellraiser game coming out. They've had Halloween games out. There's nothing
Yeah,
with Nightmare on Elm Street because
they've
all the
made like
wind's taken out of the sails.
yeah, all those other ones you just listed. There's been
Hmm.
fairly recent remakes
Yeah,
or installments of them. Whether or not they're any good is a different discussion. But yeah, Freddy, because he's one of my favorites. Like he was
yeah,
one for a while, one like probably the bigger than all of them.
yeah,
And like with one movie, they just nailed him right into his coffin, and like it's just no one knows what to do with it, which is weird because he's the one that you could do the most with. He's not just a guy
yeah.
with a knife or a
He can be
chainsaw,
anywhere doing anything.
and it's just like yeah, and I don't know.
They
It's
could
kind
do a Tiny Tina's thing with like at Borderlands with him in a Dungeons and Dragons world and him being the bad guy and just have the premise be that he sucks this group of kids into his fantasy world and then he decimates them in the fantasy world throughout the whole
yeah,
thing and yeah,
there's so much you could do with it,
yeah,
and just somehow it just sucks that the whole series had to end on this downer. It's just
yeah.
like imagine the series ended with part three. Like it just would have been
Mhm.
like so it would have been like Godfather level of like filmmaking nostalgia, but no such luck. We had to end on a
Nope.
downer, but
Nobody's making a rap song about the remake, I can tell you that much. Oh, I also had I forgot to say when we were in number four, the Fat Boys Are You Ready for Freddy came out
yeah,
at number
yeah.
four.
Always a classic. All right, well, I think we should wrap it up there because
All
that's the
right.
end of it. So, yeah, thanks for watching, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah.